Walmart. This name today represents one of the greatest retail powers in the world, a force that moves over $600 billion a year, and put my family at the top of the list of the greatest fortunes in human history. I am Sam Walton. Many see me only as the billionaire behind the empire, the man who changed the way the world consumes. But what few know is that behind the astronomical numbers and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, there is the journey of a man who never stopped being that simple boy who milked cows to help put food on the table. I didn't get to the top by luck or inheritance. I got there by being the hardest working man in every town I lived in. I started with almost nothing, facing brutal economic crises and a devastating failure at 32 that almost took everything I had built. I will take you now through every step of this journey, from the small towns of Missouri to the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange, revealing the real strategies, the mistakes nobody talks about, and the iron mindset that allowed me to build from absolute zero the biggest commercial giant on the planet. If you want to understand how discipline and an obsessive focus on the customer can transform a small shopkeeper into the greatest entrepreneur in America, stick with me, because my story is just beginning. It all started on March 29, 1918, with my birth in a small town called Kingfisher in Oklahoma. I am the son of Thomas Gibson Walton and Nancy Lee Walton. My father was a hard-working man, but life wasn't easy back then. Early in the 20s, the economy started showing signs that dark times were coming, and my family felt it firsthand. We moved constantly between small towns, mostly in the state of Missouri. These frequent moves could have been traumatic for a child, but to me they were valuable lessons in adaptation. I saw my father negotiating everything he could to support us, and my mother running the house with iron discipline. There, amidst the dust and uncertainty, I understood that money doesn't grow on trees and that every penny was a small victory. The economic crisis that devastated the country didn't scare me, it woke me up. At just 7 years old, I already felt I needed to help. I remember waking up before sunrise to milk the cows. The bucket hitting the freezing floor was my alarm clock. Afterward, I delivered the milk to the neighbors, but I didn't stop there. I was a restless kid, full of energy. I raised rabbits and pigeons to sell, taking care of each animal as if it were a small investment. I also had a paper route and sold magazine subscriptions door to door. I remember knocking on a house and saying, "Good morning, Mom. This magazine will change the way you see the world, and it costs just a few pennies." I loved the feeling of closing a sale. These experiences shaped my entrepreneurial spirit long before I even knew what that word meant. I learned to read people, to understand their needs, and above all, to value hard work. In 1934, at 16, I achieved something many considered impossible for someone my age. I became an Eagle Scout, the highest rank in the Boy Scouts. That wasn't just a badge on my chest. It was proof that I could lead and meet rigorous goals. In high school in Columbia, Missouri, I was what they called the all-around kid. I played football, was the team's quarterback, and still found time to be the student body president. I remember my coach saying, "Walton, you're not the most talented, but nobody hustles harder than you." And he was right. I was never the best at everything, but I was the one who tried the hardest. I had a hunger to win that drove me to be everywhere at the same time. After graduating from high school, I entered the University of Missouri, and in 1940, I graduated with a degree in economics. I wanted to understand the gears of the world. Shortly after graduating, I got a job as a trainee at JCPenney. It was my first real contact with professional retail. At JCPenney, I learned that the customer was the boss, and that echoed in my mind forever. However, the world was on fire. In 1942, the Second World War called me. I enlisted and ended up serving as a captain in military intelligence. The uniform gave me a new perspective on organization and logistics, things that would be crucial years later. It was during this period in Oklahoma that I met the woman who would change everything, Helen Robson. Helen was smart, determined, and came from a family with solid values. We got married on February 14, 1943, right on Valentine's Day. I always say that marrying Helen was the best business and life decision I ever made. She gave me stability, and more importantly, gave me a wonderful family. Our first son, Rob, was born in 1944, followed by John in 1946, Jim in 1948, and finally, my dear Alice in 1949. I wanted to give them everything I didn't have, but I wanted them to learn the value of effort, just like I learned in Missouri. With the end of the war in 1945, I knew it was time to fly solo. I was 27 and had an immense desire to have my own business. With $5,000 I had saved, and $20,000 borrowed from my father-in-law. I bought my first store, a Ben Franklin franchise in Newport, Arkansas. Many thought it was too high a risk, but I knew what I was doing. Newport was a small but vibrant town. I dove in headfirst. I mopped the floors, stocked the shelves, and stood at the door greeting every person who walked in. "Welcome to our store," I would say with a sincere smile. It was in Newport that I started testing what would become the formula for success. I realized that if I bought merchandise in large quantities directly from suppliers and reduced my profit margin, I could sell cheaper than any competitor. "Helen, look at this," I would say to her at home. "If I sell this shirt for 10 cents less, I attract 10 times more customers." I was obsessed with low prices. I would travel miles to observe what other shopkeepers were doing. I carried a little notebook and wrote everything down. The price of socks, the arrangement of light bulbs, the customer service. I was always learning. Between 1945 and 1950, my store in Newport became a phenomenon. We were one of the best Ben Franklin stores in the region. I was living the American dream. My kids were growing up, my business was thriving, and I felt invincible. But fate likes to test men who dream too big. I had made a mistake in the lease agreement. I didn't include a renewal clause. The landlord, seeing the roaring success I had built with my sweat, decided he wouldn't renew the lease. He wanted the store for his own son. It was a low blow, a rug pulled out from under me that I didn't expect. I remember sitting with Helen on the porch and saying, "We've lost everything we built here." It was one of the most bitter moments of my life. I was 32 years old and was being evicted from my own victory, but I wasn't going to give up. That pain turned into fuel. I learned one of the most important lessons of my career that day. Never again would I leave the fate of my business in the hands of third parties. I needed a fresh start, a place where I could build something nobody could take away from me. And that's how, with a heavy heart but a focused mind, we decided to move to a little town called Bentonville. Little did the world know that there, on that tiny spot on the map, the future of retail was about to be written. Arriving in Bentonville in 1950 was like taking a deep breath after suffocating. I was 32, had a family to feed, and a wound in my pride that still stung. Helen wanted a small town, a place where our kids could grow up freely, and Bentonville seemed like the perfect setting, with its quiet town square and an air of promise. But I wasn't there to rest. I was there to prove that what happened in Newport wouldn't define me. On May 9th, 1950, I opened Walton's 5 and 10. It was more than a store, it was my laboratory. I was determined to be my own boss in every sense, and that meant innovating where no one else dared. Back then, retail was very rigid. In many stores, clerks fetched products for customers from behind high counters. I decided to change everything. I adopted self-service, something people found strange at first. "Sam, people are going to rob you blind," some would say. But I knew that if they could touch the products, feel the texture, and read the labels, they would buy much more. I experimented with shelf layouts, moved light fixtures around to see which lighting drew the most eyes, and above all, I kept prices low. I was an obsessive observer. I spent hours in my competitors' stores, jotting down prices in my little yellow notebook. If someone sold a bar of soap for 10 cents, I found a way to sell it for 9. Every penny saved in the operation was a penny I put back into my customer's pocket. Throughout the 1950s, my model began to mature. I didn't just want a store, I wanted a chain. We expanded to neighboring towns, always focusing on those small communities that the big retailers in New York or Chicago didn't even know existed. I saw potential where others saw only dust and little profit. I bought a small airplane and learned to fly so I could soar over towns and identify the best locations for new stores. From up there, I could see the flow of the highways and the growth of the neighborhoods. I was always one step ahead, looking for land that was affordable and had room to grow. Helen was my safe haven, taking care of the house and giving me valuable advice about the townspeople, while I spent my days and nights planning the next move. In 1962, I was 44 years old. I was already operating several Ben Franklin franchise stores, but I had an idea they refused to accept. I wanted to open giant discount stores in rural towns. They told me the profit would be too low to sustain the business. I disagreed. If I sold much more, in massive volume, the small margin would turn into a fortune. That's when, on July 2nd, 1962, in Rogers, Arkansas, the first Walmart Discount City opened its doors. The name was simple, short, and easy to remember. I didn't want to spend money on giant signs, so Walmart fit perfectly. The proposal was clear: big stores, huge variety, and the lowest possible prices every day. Many laughed at me. They said, A discount wholesaler out in the middle of nowhere wouldn't last 6 months. On opening day in Rogers, the heat was unbearable. The watermelons we put out on the sidewalk to attract customers started popping in the sun, creating a sticky mess. It looked like a disaster, but the people came. They came by the thousands, hungry for savings. Right there, in the middle of that mess, I knew I had hit the bullseye. Walmart wasn't just a store. It was a social revolution for families struggling to stretch their monthly budget. In 5 years, by 1967, we already had 24 stores in operation, generating $12,700,000 in sales. I was at the peak of my energy. I knew every manager by name, visited the stores personally, and often slept on an office floor or in cheap motels to save the company's money. I saw no point in luxury while my employees worked hard. I wanted them to feel like partners, not just employees. In 1969, we made it official as Walmart Stores Inc. The business was growing so fast that cash was getting tight to sustain the expansion. I needed capital, and I needed it fast. That's when we reached the year 1970, when I was 52. We decided to take the company public on the stock exchange. It was a moment of nervousness and decision. I didn't like the idea of strangers in suits on Wall Street giving their 2 cents on my business, but I knew it was the only way to take Walmart nationwide. The initial public offering was a roaring success. The money that poured in allowed us to pay off debts and, more importantly, build our own distribution centers and our own fleet of trucks. Now, we controlled our logistics. If a product left the factory, it reached my shelves faster and cheaper than anyone else's. That decade of the 1970s was an explosion of growth. I solidified the strategy of surrounding big cities from the small ones. We were like a force of nature, advancing through the American heartland. I created the everyday low-price culture. We didn't do fleeting promotions. We guaranteed the best price all the time. I also implemented the 10-foot rule policy. If a customer was within 10 feet of you, you should look them in the eye, greet them, and ask how you could help. I wanted Walmart to have the soul of my little 5 and dime in Bentonville, even if we were operating hundreds of locations. At this stage, I was no longer just a shopkeeper. I was the leader of an army of associates. I traveled constantly, carrying my tape recorder to capture ideas that came up along the way. I noticed the competition is putting detergents at eye level. We need to test this, I would record while driving. I was obsessed with efficiency. Every second saved unloading a truck meant more profit. And the profit wasn't for me to buy yachts or mansions. The profit was the fuel to open the next store in the next state. By the end of 1979, I was about to turn 61, and Walmart was already a respected name, but the world hadn't seen anything yet. The real hurricane was just starting to gather strength, and I was ready to dance with it. When we entered the 1980s, I was already 62, an age when many of my acquaintances were thinking about retirement, playing golf, or fishing in some quiet lake. But for me, the game was just starting to get interesting. In 1980, Walmart reached a milestone that many experts in New York said was impossible for a chain based in small towns. We hit $1 billion in annual sales. I remember looking at those numbers and feeling immense pride, not for the money itself, but for the validation that our efficiency model was unstoppable. We were no longer just a regional curiosity from Arkansas. We were a national force redefining American retail, but success never made me comfortable. In fact, it made me more alert. I knew that to keep growing, we needed to constantly reinvent ourselves. In 1983, at 65, I launched the first Sam's Club. I saw what Sol Price was doing with Price Club and realized there was a massive market for small business owners and families who wanted to buy in even larger volumes, with almost non-existent profit margins. Many within my own company questioned whether we were cannibalizing our own stores. I replied that if anyone was going to take customers away from Walmart, it had better be us. Sam's Club was a success, proving that my hunger for innovation hadn't diminished with age. In 1984, one of the most memorable episodes of my journey happened, something that showed exactly who I was. I made a bet with David Glass, who at the time was one of the company's top executives and would later be my successor. I told him that if we could achieve a pre-tax profit margin of 8%, I would do the hula right in the middle of Wall Street. I was sure it was a nearly impossible goal, but our associates took it seriously. They worked harder than ever, saving on every cardboard box and every hour of electricity. The result? They beat the goal, and I, as a man of my word, went to New York. There I was, wearing a grass skirt and Hawaiian leis, doing the hula in the heart of the world's financial center. It made the news everywhere. Some analysts thought it was ridiculous, but my employees loved it. They knew I was one of them, and that the company's success belonged to all of us. Technology also became my great ally. Although I still used my old notebook and my voice recorder, I knew Walmart needed something bigger to control thousands of stores. In 1987, we invested $24 million to deploy the largest private satellite communication system in the United States. It was a bold move. This system connected all the stores to the home office in Bentonville, allowing us to know, almost in real time, what was selling in each location. If a toy was selling well in Dallas, we knew it right away and could adjust the inventory in Chicago. That gave us a logistical advantage that no competitor could even dream of achieving. The following year, in 1988, at the age of 70, we opened the first Walmart supercenter in Washington, Missouri. The idea was simple but revolutionary: put a full supermarket inside the department store. I wanted the customer to be able to buy their car tires, a television, kids' clothes, and the week's milk, all in one place. It was an immense logistical challenge, as handling perishable goods was much more complex than selling shoes or tools. But we mastered the process. The supercenter became one of the most powerful growth engines in retail history, forever changing the way many families did their weekly shopping. While the company was becoming this technological and logistical giant, I made a point of keeping my feet on the ground. I kept driving my 1979 Ford pickup truck. Helen sometimes complained about the dog smell and the torn seats, but I would say, "Helen, what would our shareholders think if I started driving around in a Rolls-Royce?" I visited at least 6 stores a week. I would go in through the back, talk to the boys in the stockroom, ask about their families, and then head out to the sales floor to observe the customers. I loved finding a product being sold cheaper at the competition. I'd pick up the phone right away and call the manager. "Hey, why are they selling detergent 10 cents cheaper than us? Figure it out and beat the price." I was a born competitor. I also had a habit that drove my executives crazy. I never stayed in luxury hotels. If we could share a cheap motel room on the road, we shared it. "Every dollar we save here is $1 less on the price of our products," I repeated, like a mantra. I got my haircuts at the same $5 barbershop in Bentonville. Simplicity wasn't a mask for me, it was my essence. I truly believed that waste was a sin against the customer. This culture of austerity permeated everything. We didn't have luxury jets in the beginning. We had small planes that I piloted myself, often landing on dirt strips near the towns where we wanted to open new locations. In 1990, we reached the absolute top. Walmart became the largest retailer in the United States, surpassing Sears. At 72, I looked back and saw that we had built something monumental, but my mind was already on the next step: the world. In 1991, we opened our first international operation in Mexico, kicking off our global expansion. I wanted the Walmart philosophy to cross borders. Despite all the glory and the billions, my health started showing signs of wear. I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a type of blood cancer. It was a heavy blow, but I faced it with the same determination I faced the hardest moments of my life. I wasn't going to stop. I kept visiting stores, even if sometimes I needed a wheelchair or help to walk. On March 17, 1992, I received the highest honor a civilian can receive, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, presented by President George Bush in Bentonville. It was a moment of profound emotion for me and Helen. That day, I felt my mission was accomplished. I had proven that a common man, coming from a simple background, could not only build a fortune, but improve the lives of millions of people. But the end was near, and I had to prepare the ground for what would come after me. My last years were perhaps the most intense of my entire existence. When the body starts to fail, the mind seems to gain a clarity that the rush of everyday life sometimes steals from us. I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, an aggressive blood cancer, but I decided I wouldn't be a victim of the disease. I would be the same Sam Walton as always, focused, disciplined, and stubborn. I knew time was running out, and I needed to get on record not just Walmart's financial success, but the company's soul. That's why I decided to write my autobiography, Made in America. I wanted every associate, from the kid pushing carts to the senior executive, to understand that Walmart wasn't a miracle, but the result of hard work and non-negotiable principles. I remember sitting down with John Huey to tell the stories that would make up the book. I was often in pain, but the passion for telling how it all happened kept me going. I wanted to emphasize my 10 rules for success, which were always my true north. The first one, and the most important, commit to your business. If you don't love what you do, no one else will. I was always passionate about retail. I loved the smell of the stores, the sound of the cash registers, and above all, the satisfaction of a customer walking out with a full bag. Another fundamental rule was to share the profits with all associates. At Walmart, we treated our employees like partners. If the company won, everybody won. I always said that if you take care of your employees, they will take care of your customers. And if the customers are well taken care of, they'll keep coming back, ensuring the success of the business. My routine, even weakened, didn't change much. I still insisted on visiting the stores. There were times when I visited locations in a wheelchair. I didn't want to be looked at with pity. I wanted to see if the floor was clean, if the shelves were stocked, and if the associates' smiles were genuine. I was always a details man. I believed success was in the little things no one else noticed. I encouraged my managers to be leaders, not bosses. A leader motivates, a boss orders. I wanted everyone to have the merchant spirit, that spark in the eyes of someone who wants to sell and serve. I also reinforced the idea of celebrating success. If we hit a goal, we threw a party. The hula on Wall Street was just one example of that. Life is too short not to celebrate our victories, no matter how small. In 1992, when the disease advanced severely, I had to be admitted to the University of Arkansas Hospital in Little Rock. Even there, in a hospital room, I couldn't switch off. I asked to see the sales reports. I wanted to know how Mexico was doing. I asked about the competition's prices. Helen was always by my side, being the rock she always was. I looked at her and saw our whole history. The simple wedding, the years of uncertainty in Newport, the move to Bentonville, and raising our 4 kids. Rob, John, Jim, and Alice were already successful, prepared adults. I felt immense peace knowing they shared my values. They weren't just heirs to a fortune, they were guardians of a life philosophy. On March 17, 1992, shortly before the end, I received a visit from President George Bush. When he placed the Presidential Medal of Freedom around my neck, I didn't feel that honor was just for Sam Walton, the billionaire. It was a medal for every paperboy, for every mother saving pennies to buy milk for her kids, and for every associate wearing the blue Walmart vest with pride. I told him that Walmart was proof that the American dream was still alive and kicking. I never sought fame, but in that moment, I understood that my journey had become a symbol of hope, and that ethical, persistent work always bears fruit. On April 5, 1992, at 74 years old, my clock stopped. I died surrounded by my family, at peace with my conscience and with a feeling of a mission accomplished. The news of my death traveled the world, but in Bentonville the atmosphere was of a family loss. Walmart stores all over the country held a moment of silence. Associates nationwide paid their respects. I didn't want a pompous funeral. I wanted people to remember me as the man who always sought the best for his customer. I was buried simply, just as I lived. My Ford pickup remained as a reminder that material wealth must never corrupt our essence and our deepest values. After my departure, the world watched to see if Walmart would survive without its founder. Many analysts predicted the company would lose its way, but they forgot that I didn't just build a business, I built a culture. My children took on their roles with dignity. Rob Walton became chairman of the board, maintaining the financial discipline I always demanded. John, Jim, and Alice continued to support the company and get involved in philanthropic causes, using the fortune we built to support projects in different areas. The Walton family stayed united, which is rare in such powerful dynasties. They understood that our greatest asset wasn't our stock market value, but the Walton name and what it represented to millions of ordinary Americans. Looking back now from wherever I am, I see Walmart expanding, entering the digital age and facing new challenges I couldn't even imagine in 1962. But the heart of the company remains the same. When I see an associate helping an elderly person find a product or a family saving enough money to take an extra present home for Christmas, I know I'm still there. My story didn't end in that hospital in Little Rock. It continues in every transaction, in every saving, and in every life Walmart touches daily. I was just a country boy with a simple idea, but that idea proved powerful enough to change the world. And the secret, my friend, was never the money. It was always and will always be about the people and about the extraordinary value of doing what's right every single day. Today, when you walk into one of the thousands of stores scattered across the globe, I want you to look beyond the stocked shelves. The Walmart you know today, a powerhouse that employs millions of people and serves hundreds of millions of families, is the reflection of an idea born out of simplicity. Many people ask me what the real secret was to transforming a small variety store in Arkansas into the largest retailer on the planet. The answer is simpler than it seems. I never stopped learning and I never accepted that good was enough. I always strived for excellence. I was eternally curious, a relentless student of human behavior. If I saw a competitor doing something better, I didn't feel envy. I felt inspiration to do even better. My life was a succession of ups and downs, of resounding victories and painful failures, like losing the store in Newport, which almost broke me, but every fall taught me to get up stronger. I lived simply because I believed ostentation was a waste of energy and capital that belonged to my customers and shareholders. Driving that old pickup and getting my haircuts at neighborhood barbershops wasn't a character. It was who I truly was. I wanted to be accessible. I wanted my associates to know I was in the trenches with them. The fortune I left for my family, for Helen, and for my kids was just a natural consequence of a healthy obsession with serving. Rob, Jim, Alice, and John continued this work, keeping Walmart as a pillar of global retail and honoring the roots we planted in Bentonville. I hope my journey serves as fuel for your own dreams. It doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you've already faced major defeats. What matters is your ability to persist and keep your focus on what truly creates value. If I, a Missouri boy who milked cows, managed to change the way the world shops, imagine what you can achieve with discipline and vision. Success isn't a final destination, but a continuous process of improvement and dedication to others. If you felt inspired by this journey of persistence and want to learn more about the minds that shaped our world, I have an invitation for you. Like this video so this message can reach more entrepreneurs and dreamers. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming detailed stories we'll be sharing here. And to continue your immersion in the world of great achievers, watch the video popping up on your screen right now. I am Sam Walton, and it was an honor to share my life with you. Always remember, the customer is the only boss who can fire everybody, from the chairman to the janitor, simply by spending his money somewhere else. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Until next time.